Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Sunday Feast program with ISKCON Stouffville. It is again my very good fortune to have this opportunity to serve all of you here in ISKCON Stouffville. I seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis that I may be able to render some service to all of you. So today we're observing a very special festival, a festival that is an important festival in our calendars, our Vedic calendars in many ways. Today is Balaram Purnima, our festival that we're celebrating, as well as Junan Yatra. The actual Purnima actually took place on Friday and there were various celebrations. But as we know in the spiritual world, every day is a festival. Every step is a dance, every word is a song, and every day is a festival. So ISKCON Stouffville being an embassy of the spiritual world, we are observing that festival today. So in the Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Lord Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vedi tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanmanaiti mameti surajana. So many of you know this verse. It is a critical verse for us to understand. It's a hope-giving verse because once you understand Krishna's Janma Karma Chame Divyam, his divine appearance and his activities in Tatvata, in full, you will not take birth again in this world. And that's ultimately the purpose that we're trying to take, is to stop this repetition of birth and death and return back to the spiritual world. So we have an opportunity today to meditate on the divine appearance and activities of Shri Balaramji. But who is this Balaramji that we're speaking about? We know that from our Vedic scriptures and the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, Balaramji is Swayam Prakash. He is non-different from Krishna himself. In fact, he is the first expansion, and from Balaram comes all the other expansions and avatars. The first Chaturvyuha, then the second Chaturvyuha, then the Mahavishnu and the Garbhodakshai, Kshirodakshai, and all the incarnations. And this personality is non-different from Krishna in many ways. The same personality in the previous Yuga, Treta Yuga, appeared as Lakshmana. And in Kali Yuga, he appeared as Nityananda. It is said that Balaram Hoilu Nitai, Brajendra Nandana Jai, Sachi Sutta Hoilu Sei, Balaram Hoilu Nitai. When Lakshman went through all the ordeals that he went through in Ramayana, where he had to tolerate Lord Ram being banished to the forest, he couldn't say anything. In fact, in the Valmiki Ramayana, it's explained that he told Lord Ram, why don't you're a Kshatriya, attack and kill the king and you take the throne, which is your rightful heir. And obviously Lord Ram chastised him that this is not right. That's not how we do. Then he had to tolerate Mother Sita going through Agni Pariksha, which again was not really Agni Pariksha, it was a Chaya Sita who had gone to Lanka. But he had to tolerate so many things. He was given instructions, leave Sita with Valmiki, so many things that then he came to his master and said, my dear Lord, enough is enough. Next incarnation, I want to be the elder because I just can't take it anymore. So then the Lord said, Tathastu. So what we're going to do, following our Sampradaya, we focus a lot on the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. And according to the 7th chapter, Prahlad Maharaj speaks about the 9 process of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So we will meditate on the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord Balaram, with that mood of trying to go deep and trying to understand the Tattvata. So the first thing I would like to start with is the various names that Lord Balaram has. I selected 10 names of Balaram and we'll go into a bit of detail. So the first is Baladeva. We all know Balaram is very strong, materially, physically, but also very spiritually strong. And Deva being divine, one of his names is Baladev, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, the forms that we pull on our chariot. One of his other names is Balabhadra. Bhadra means auspicious, like Krishna's sister Subhadra. Balabhadra is one who is very auspicious and very powerful at the same time. Balaram is also known as Rohini Nandan. We sing in that bhajan, right? Jai Jai Ramagadi, Rohini Nandan. One of his glories is that he's the son of Rohini. Rohini is the wife of Vasudeva, but also the only personality who was present in Vrajalila. And when Krishna went to Mathura, she was present there in Mathura Leela. And when Krishna went to Dwarka, she was the only one who was present there in all 3 of these Leelas. And in Jagannath's pastime, she plays a significant role in identifying all the Vraj Leela to the residents of Dwarka. He's also known as Sankarshan. one who draws, Akarshan, we all understand that, right? That is a Vedic Sanskrit term. It's also used a lot in Hindi. Akarshan means to attract. Sankarshan is to bring together. And Baladev brought together the family of Vasudev and Nanda Maharaj. And Vasudev and Nanda Maharaj are related in many ways. They are basically stepbrothers from the same lineage. And then one of his other names is Haladhar. Why? Because he carries the plow. Mataji is showing with the hand. Yes. So he carries the plow, but one of his sixth name that I'd like to mention is Halayudha, which means he's a warrior who fights with the Hal. You'll find in many references when he's angry or upset, he's trying to bring Yamuna or Hastinapur, he uses his plow as a weapon. Also Rama. You'll find in the Bhagavatam there's many mentions of Rama and Krishna enter the forest. That Ram is basically Balaram that he's been referred to, which means the reservoir of all pleasure, the reservoir of all enjoyment. Revati Raman is also a very nice name of Balaram. He is the beloved husband of Revati. Balaramji has two wives, Revati and Varuni. Also in Vraj, the land of Vrindavan, the language Vrajabhasha, the name for an elder brother is Daoji. And there's a very famous temple, Daoji. Around Govardhan, there's Doka Daoji. So Daoji is also a very beautiful name of Balaramji. But also the 10th name that I wanted to select us to meditate on, his name is Duryodhan Guru, which has a very significant reference to how he further enhances the joy and pastimes of Lord Krishna. And I will touch on that later in the class. So that is the beautiful names of Balaramji, but his form, what does he actually look like? We'll find from our scriptures, the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 41. So Rupa Goswami wrote the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Srila Prabhupada translated that into the Nectar of Devotion. But his translation was a little different. He wasn't going word by word. He was providing a full translation. So in chapter 41, it's explained, and I'm quoting. One devotee describes the personal beauty of Baladev as follows. He said, "Let me take shelter of the lotus feet of Balaram, whose beauty is enhanced by the earrings touching his cheeks. His face is decorated with tilak made of kasturi, which is musk basically. And his broad chest is decorated with a garland of gunja." We all know gunja is basically a seed. Yes, it's a seed in Braja. You basically don't eat that. There's a bit of a point, but it looks very nice. Red and black and shiny. And his complexion is as white as an autumn cloud. Krishna is also described as a cloud, right? What cloud? Monsoon cloud, rain cloud, which is full of water, dark in complexion. Sometimes Balaram is described as a spring cloud. So spring and autumn, very white. His complexion is white. He wears garments of blue color. We'll see always Balaram, Nityananda wearing blue color. His voice is very deep, very grave. It is explained in another place. It's like the beating of a drum. It's very deep. His arms are very long, touching his thighs. We all know from the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, Ajan Ulambito Bhujo. The Purusha, Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, Balaram, their identity is pretty much the same. The description of their eyes like lotuses, their arms reaching their knees. And he has great strength by killing the Pralamba demon. Let me take shelter of this chivalrous Balaram. Sometimes his bodily hue is also described as white as camphor, sometimes as white as a conch shell, sometimes as white as a kunda flower. A kunda flower is basically a star jasmine. If you've ever smelled a star jasmine, a regular jasmine has a soft smell, but a star jasmine has a sharp smell. It's very nice. And he's also sometimes described as the moon. So Balaram, in Vrindavan, there used to be this tree just behind our ISKCON temple called the Krsna Balaram tree, where there was a very whitish tree and a very blackish tree that had grown right together. And they look literally like Krishna and Balaram standing together. So that is his name, his form, his appearance. Let's look at some of his qualities. So one of the main identities of Shri Balaramji is that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He is Krishna himself, but he's in the mood of a servant. So he's known as Sevaka Bhagavan. So one time, disciples of Srila Prabhupada were having a discussion. I believe it was Yamuna Mataji, Brahmananda Prabhu, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So Yamuna Mataji was saying the only difference between Krishna and Balaram, because they were in Vrindavan, there was the installation of Krishna and Balaram, and these devotees were meditating on. So this is the only difference between Krishna and Balaram, is that they're exactly the same, but just the color is different. Krishna is blackish, Balaramji is whitish. And Brahmananda Prabhu said, no. The only difference between Krishna and Balaram is that Krishna associates with Radharani and Balaramji does not. And they both were having this argument, no, that's not no, it is. So they went, it was a transcendental discussion. Then they went to Tamal Krishna Maharaj and said, Maharaj, we need to take this to Srila Prabhupada and get clarity. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj brought it in front of Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was very gravely sitting, yes. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Yamuna is saying that the only difference between Krishna and Balaram is that he's white and one is black. Prabhupada said, she is right. And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, no, but Brahmananda Prabhu is saying that the only difference between Krishna and Balaram is he associates with Radha and Balaram does not. Prabhupada said, he is right. And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, but Srila Prabhupada, how can they both be right? And he said, Tamal, you're right. So Srila Prabhupada transcendentally said, all of those are true. And that's the beauty about spiritual life. Spiritually, we cannot understand things through our mental conceptions. There can be multiple truths that coexist together. So, Sri Balaramji serves Krishna in all the 5 rasas. We all know that there are 5 mellows, 5 primary mellows in which we serve Krishna. And all the devotees are serving in these categories. The first is Shantaras, in which there isn't much of an exchange, but it is the trees, the rocks, the river, that is all serving in Shantaras. And they are conscious, they're fully conscious in the spiritual world. It's explained every stone is Chintamani and fully conscious. So Balaramji serves in Shantiras, where he serves as the bed of Krishna, as Sheshnag. His clothes, his shoes, his flute, the entire Vrindavan Dham, every paraphernalia that is in Krishna Leela is an expansion of Balaramji. Can you imagine how wonderful that is, that Balaramji is directly rendering that service? Now it is explained that same flute that Krishna had when Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that flute became the Mridanga. And we all know, those who play Mridanga like Prabhu played so nicely, we call this Balaram. There are many devotees who directly would refer to play the Balaram, don't put Balaram down like that. So Balaram is serving in Shantaras. Then Dasyas. Dasya we all understand means servitor. So he's serving. So he would massage Krishna's feet. When Krishna would be playing with the Gopas, he'd be tired. Krishna would lay down and he'd put his head on one of the Gopas' laps. And Balaramji himself would massage his feet. In Sakyaras, as a friend, he plays with Krishna in so many games, in so many ways, enhancing the pastime. Many a times it's always Krishna on one side and Balaram on one side, and the Gopas take sides. So it's an equal competition. And in that, Balaramji is always enhancing the pleasure and the joy that Krishna is seeking. Then Vatsalya. Vatsalya, we know it is? Parental, yes, as parents. So Yashoda and Nanda are the topmost in Vatsalya Ras. But Balaram, being the elder brother, he has a deep affection for Krishna and is very protective. So again in the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 41, there's a description that illustrates the affection that Balaramji has. He says to Subal, one of their friends. So Balaramji says, hey Subal, my dear friend, please inform Krishna not to go to Kaliya's lake today. Today is Krishna's birthday, and I wish to go along with Mother Yashoda to bathe him. Tell him he should not leave the house today. So that is just shows how beautifully Balaramji, through his friend, is giving that instruction. And Krishna will listen. Krishna will always listen. And even in that Vatsalya, Balaramji brings a bit of a rasa where he complains to Mother Yashoda. Krishna has eaten dirt. And all that pastime happens. And Krishna would be wondering, hey, Balaram, you're on my side. Why are you complaining to Mother Yashoda? But that enhances the nectar that Krishna experiences. Then we also know in the 10th canto, the Aghasur pastime. That happened when it was Balaram Purnima. It was Balaramji's birthday. Now Vedically, on your birthday, you do a lot of seva. So Malarohini, Mother Yashoda kept Balaramji back, and they would give out charity to the Brahmanas through Balaramji. And he would, give dan and do seva, and that was how birthdays are celebrated. Then on Balaram Purnima, that's when the Aghasur pastime happened. Now Krishna would have stopped all the Gopas from going in, but all of that happened. And when Aghasur was killed, Brahmaji couldn't understand this. How is that possible? We all know that Putana had two brothers, Bakasur and Aghasur. So Aghasur was very, very demoniac, and he was very powerful. The fact that he was killed, Brahma was wondering, who is this cowherd boy? Just a few years old, and he's able to kill Aghasur. Then Brahma came and took all the cowherd boys and the cows. If Balaramji was there, Brahma had no chance. So all of this pastime happened when Balaram was not there. He's a very protective fatherly-like figure. Also Madhurya Ras, Balaramji took the form of Ananga Manjari, who's Radharani's younger sister. And in various ways, Balaramji through Ananga Manjari would serve in that mellow of Madhurya. So being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Balaram is engaged in every aspect of service to Krishna, covering every realm of whatever Krishna would require to feel joy. And therefore he is the original Guru, because he's showing us by his example of how to render service to Krishna. And that's why it is explained that all Gurus are representatives of Balaramji. All of them come in the lineage of Balaramji. In fact, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj spoke in a lecture that all of them are an expansion of Balaram. So that is the power of all of our Gurus that we see, especially Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. Now, we've spoken about then his qualities. Let's look at some of his paraphernalia. We know that Balaramji dresses in what color? Blue color, blue garments. He carries a what? A plow, a hala. But he carries another weapon, a club, yes. Now that club is, Dinabandhu Prabhu explained, it's not like Hanumanji's club. We've got a gada. It's actually called a musa, which it's like an inflated baseball bat. It's a long thing with a big weight on it. And that musa is what Balaramji uses. It's explained that he wanted to offer respect to Krishna, but he's the elder brother. And while holding the musala went down and touched Krishna's feet, just came down in that way, offering respect. So all his paraphernalia are his Shakti that are offering service to Krishna as well. He's also decorated with a Gunjamala. So the beauty of Balaramji, we find many times he's either decorated with peacock feathers, sometimes he's decorated with a white feather. But he also carries a bugle, a buffalo horn, with which he blows and makes transcendental sounds. And there's a beautiful painting in BBT of Krishna playing his flute and Balaramji playing his bugle. So Krishna and Balaram together, Krishna carries a flute and Balaramji carries a plow. Now what is the significance of both of these paraphernalia together? It's explained that when we, the Jivatma, when we live in this material world, we take multiple lives, multiple births, and we're trying to enjoy our senses, and we're frustrated with that. But in that process, our hearts become very hard. Now, if we are to plant seeds in a hard ground, it won't work. You have to till the soil. You have to turn the soil and make it soft. And for that, you use the hala. So Balaramji, being the Guru Tattva, uses the hala to cultivate our hearts, makes it softer, and opens it up so that the Bhakti Lata Beej can be planted. And when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are watering that seed. And that Bhakti Lata grows and fructifies. And then, so that all represents Raganuga Bhakti, where Sadhana Bhakti, where we're doing all the sadhana. And then Krishna's flute, once we've perfected that, then we get into the Raganuga Bhakti state, where we're spontaneously attracted to Krishna and rendering service. So that is why Krishna and Balaram, when they are together, it's a very powerful combination. Now in Vrindavan, in ISKCON Vrindavan, we have which deities? Krishna Balaram deities. So Srila Prabhupada installed Krishna Balaram deities on Ram Navami of 1975, April 20th. But as always, all land projects in India go through so many troubles. The original owners of the land were not giving the land, and then they finally agreed, and then halfway through they wanted more money, and it was just so much trouble. And eventually, Srila Prabhupada just moved ahead with it, and the problems were still going on. So Srila Prabhupada installed the Krishna Balaram deities. And the very next morning, all the devotees had come to take darshan. And Srila Prabhupada said, now that Balaram is here, everything will be okay. And we know that after that, all the paperwork and all the transaction completely cleared out. So the devotees in ISKCON Vrindavan explain, and I've heard this through my mentors, that if you have a big problem in your spiritual life, material life, whatever it is, you go to Krishna, you beg Krishna, please Krishna, there's a problem that I need to solve, I need your help, please help me. And Krishna will solve the problem, if he decides. But if you have a very, very big problem, you go to Balaram. In fact, Srila Prabhupada had told one of his disciples who had come and said, Srila Prabhupada, I have so many problems, I've got all this headache, I'm not feeling well, and I'm not able to do my services. Srila Prabhupada told him directly, go to Balaram and you tell him all your problems. And this devotee writes that one by one all his problems got resolved. So if you have a very big problem, you go and pray to Balaram. Balaram, please help me. So after the deities were installed, we obviously know that the problem was resolved very quickly. Then a few days later, Srila Prabhupada on a morning walk in Vrindavan was asking the devotee, so who do you think is stronger, Krishna or Balaram? Now that's a trick question, right? Because he just proved that Balaram is here and all the problems will be solved. So what do you think happened? He asked all the devotees, who's stronger, Krishna or Balaram? And no one wanted to say anything. It was a trick question. You don't take sides of either. And Srila Prabhupada just laughed and said, who is Balaram leaning on? Even Balaram, who solves all the problems, he's relying on Krishna. He's leaning on Krishna for strength. So in that way, he's transcendently glorified both. We obviously know the answer is there is neither. They are both equally the same. Also, again, speaking about Vrindavan, one of the very favorite memories I have of listening to Srila Prabhupada memories, the devotees who brought the deities of Krishna Balaram, Radha Shyam Sundar Gaur Nitai into Vrindavan for installation in ISKCON. Obviously 1974, 1975, was very little commercialization. And there was a dirt road that came from that Mathura highway into Vrindavan. And by the time he actually got there, he was on a rickshaw carrying these deities, and it was dark. And he was tired, it was getting late, and he was worried because there were dacoits there. So he knows, I'm white-bodied, I'm part of ISKCON, am I going to end up in trouble? So he's going with the deities, and it's completely dark. And suddenly, the peacocks start cooing. And not just one or two, all the peacocks suddenly started cooing. All together. And he's wondering, wow, I'm actually here taking Krishna and Balaram in Vrindavan. So, after the installation happened, some devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, so Srila Prabhupada, in the deity of Krishna and Balaram, Srila Prabhupada, wait, what deity? He said, no, Krishna and Balaram are personally standing here. So whenever you all get a chance to go to Vrindavan next, please approach in that mind that Krishna and Balaram are personally standing in front of you. This is what Srila Prabhupada has said directly. So in the interest of time, I will move along to a few things. I want to speak about some of the persons that, demons and some non-demons that Balaramji liberated. We all know in Vrindavan, there was the donkey demon, Dhenukasur. And Dhenukasur had captured the Taliban, and Dinabandha Prabhu explains that, I'm not sure of the reference, but he said that Dhenukasur was a descendant in Prahlad Maharaj's lineage. And as Nrsingadev had given a blessing, I will not kill anyone in your lineage. So Krishna told Balaram, okay, it's your turn. You deal with Dhenukasur. And Balaramji came and completely liberated Dhenukasur. And then there was Pralambasur. So Dhenukasur, according to Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Dhenukasur represents an anartha within our hearts. That anartha is the ignorance of one's spiritual identity. Almost a laziness to try and go deeper. And that laziness is broken and destroyed by Guru Tattva, Balaramji, but also by our own endeavor. This is where that sweet combination has to happen. Then Pralambasur, we all know he came as a Gopa, and he dressed up as one of the friends who wasn't there, and then he was on Krishna's party, and Krishna's party lost in that game. So he carried Balaram far away, and Balaram then delivered him. In the later pastimes, there was that gorilla demon named Dvivida. Now we all have heard that Dvivida, and when you read the Ramayana, his name is there. He was one of the generals in Sugriva's army. Mainda, Dvivida, Gaya, Gavaksha, all of these names are there. Angad, and these are very prominent personalities who made significant contribution to Lord Ram's pastimes. They served in building the bridge, in fighting the war, but Dvivida had one shortcoming. He was envious of of Lakshman. He was wondering, we're doing all this seva, and Lakshman has direct access to Lord Ram. Whenever he wants, Lakshman just walks into the hut and he's speaking to Lord Ram. Why can't I do that? I want to be able to access Krishna directly. And that is also an anartha. Srila Prabhupada has said in so many ways, do not directly approach Krishna. You're getting into the Dvivida mentality. Because there will always be personalities who will have direct access to Krishna. We always go through Guru. We always go through Guru Tattva. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Raghunath Das Goswami, whenever he would want to talk to Lord Chaitanya is sitting in front of him, he would be speaking to Swarup Damodar, like, please tell my master this. I mean, he can look directly to Lord Chaitanya and say, my Lord, this is what I would like. But that is the example that he sets. And in our lineage, we focus on Dasa, Anudas, the servant of the servant of the servant. So Dvivida in that mentality was envious of Lakshman. And he had to wait an entire yuga. Towards the end of Dwapar Yuga, Balaramji liberated him. Very beautiful pastimes that is described there. The other personality, Balaramji, and there were many, but I've just chosen 5 for today's class. Rukmi. We know who is Rukmi? Rukmini's brother, yes, Prabhu. So he was envious of Krishna. He wanted his sister to get married to Shishupal. Now we all know in the Vedic culture that it was a very clear thing that a woman would get married to whoever she would want to. Swayamvar. They would themselves choose who they want to get married to. But Rukmini was insisting, no, you need to get married to Shishupala. So Rukmini wrote this letter to Krishna, very beautiful pastime. Krishna came, took Rukmini, and there was a battle, and Krishna was about to kill Rukmini. And Rukmini begged, please no, this is just my brother, please let him be. So Rukmini then continued that envious mentality towards Krishna. And then in a wedding that was happening in the family, he engaged in a match with Balaram, in which he was playing unfairly. He was saying, Balaram is cheating, Balaram is the one who's cheating. And Balaramji liberated him. Now that pastime, I'm really condensing it into a few seconds, but please do, if you get a chance, read the Krishna book. Because imagine, on one end is Krishna standing with Rukmini, and her brother is there, and his brother-in-law, and then his brother Balaram. And there's a conflict there. So whenever we find in our families also, whenever there's conflict, there's disagreement, misunderstanding, overreactions, do what Krishna did. Krishna remained quiet, completely silent, and let things happen as they. So he's not taking either side. And then the 5th personality we can speak about is Romaharshan Suta. Now when the whole Mahabharata Yuddha was happening, Balaramji said, I'm not going to take anyone's side. So Balaramji went on a Tirtha Yatra. And he came into Naimisharanya. And there were thousands of sages. And they had just installed Romaharshan Suta and given him blessings for a long life. And when Balaramji walks in, Balaramji we know is the Supreme Personality of God. He represents all the Gurus. Romaharshan Suta did not offer respects. There was that pride within him. Balaramji got really angry. Why did he get angry? Because Balaramji is the Guru of all Gurus. He's showing Romaharshan Suta. As a Guru, you need to be able to get off from your Vyasasana and offer respect. Balaramji took grass and chopped his head off. And all the sages were like, Hare Krishna, what are we going to do? We just gave him the blessing of a long life. And then Balaramji said, I can bring him back to life. And they said, no. The son lives, the father lives through the son. And let his son, Suta Goswami, take the blessings and be the leader. So Suta Goswami became the leader. And we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam after that, Suta Vacha, Suta Goswami was speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya, the pastimes of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So those are a couple of the personalities that Balaramji liberated. But his entire mood was to enhance the joy that Krishna felt. Now we know who Krishna is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the spiritual world, whatever Krishna desires, it happens. There are desire-fulfilling trees, there's Kamadhenu, cows, there's no shortage of joy for Krishna. But in the material world, he comes down And Balaramji understands his mood very nicely. And Balaramji, as I said, one of his names was Duryodhan Guru. His name is that he is the guru of the one person who was extremely envious of Krishna. And even when Krishna came as the Shanti Dut, the messenger of peace, Duryodhan insulted him like anything. And his guru is Krishna's brother. How does that actually happen? So as I mentioned, Krishna, all his pastimes are, everything he desires in the spiritual world is fully done. But Krishna's transcendental anxiety is how can he give protection to his devotees. So like in the Mahabharata, what happened when Abhimanyu was killed, Arjuna made a vow, by the end of tomorrow, Jayadratha, you were the cause of no help coming into Abhimanyu. I will kill you. And if I don't, I will enter into fire, Agni Samadhi. And all the Kauravas like, Jai, that's it. We found one way to kill one of the Pandavas. They couldn't kill any of the Pandavas. And Krishna was in extreme anxiety. He looked at Arjuna, what are you doing? Why did you make that vow? You should have asked me. I would have given you other ways. And Arjuna said, Krishna, I made the vow. Now you make it happen. And that night, Arjuna slept very peacefully. He was snoring. He was relaxed. It's no longer my problem. It's Krishna's problem. And Krishna was in extreme anxiety. He was tossing and turning. Obviously, transcendental anxiety, not like us. Tossing and turning, like, how do I make this happen? And our acharyas explained that Krishna at one point said, this is it. If Arjuna is not able to kill Jayadratha, I will pick up my Sudarshan Chakra and kill everyone. Then I will burn the entire universe down and I will bring about complete pralaya. And he said, okay, I have a plan. Now I'm going to go to sleep. So Krishna's anxiety is how can he protect his devotees? Knowing that, Balaramji played a role where he would take the side of Duryodhana in a way that would give that transcendental anxiety. So he taught Gada Yuddha, the art of fighting mace, to both Bhima and Duryodhana, but he was more inclined towards Duryodhana. And Duryodhana at one point showed so much valor that Balaram said, ask me a boon. I'm really pleased with you. And he said, Balaram, if you're really pleased with me, I would like to marry your sister Subhadra. And Balaram said, no problem, I will make it happen. Without consulting Subhadra or Krishna. So Krishna again was in anxiety. Subhadra herself wanted to marry Arjuna. She had heard the glories of Arjuna, she had fallen in love with him, but she did not want to have anything to do with Duryodhana. We also know in Jagannath Puri, who is the chariot driver of Subhadra? Arjuna. Arjuna is the chariot driver, so that it's an eternal relationship. And Krishna went through so much anxiety, how do I make this happen? So Arjuna had come into Dwarka, and slowly Krishna made them meet. There's a long pastime. And Krishna told Arjuna, you know what? You want to marry her, she wants to marry you. In the Kshatriya Dharma, you are allowed to kidnap her. He said, I kidnapped Rukmini, so you go ahead. Kidnap Subhadra. So he went, Arjuna went, and he said, but before you go, make sure you take blessings of Balaramji. So the day when Arjuna kidnapped Subhadra, he went and sought blessings of Balaramji. Balaramji looked at him, dressed up in all this attire, are you going for war? He said, no, I'm going to, I'm going hunting. Kshatriyas are allowed hunting. You're going to be hunting something big. He said, yes, Balaramji, please give me your blessings. Got blessings of Balaramji and went and Krishna had told Subhadra, when Arjuna takes you, you drive the chariot. So Arjuna took her on the chariot and Subhadra took the reins and she was driving the chariot. Now, in those days, the Kshatranis, they knew how to drive chariots, 4 horses, it's so hard. Has anyone ridden a single horse in their life? No. I have, and it's not easy. You have, Mataji? It's not easy. And imagine a chariot with 4 horses, each of them independent, and she's riding them, very talented. So when Balaram heard, oh my Krishna, this Arjuna, how did he do that? So he took his battle, he started getting ready for battle. All the Yadavas were very angry, how could he do that? And Krishna was quietly sitting in the hall. And they all realized, why is Krishna so quiet? They said, Krishna, why are you so quiet? We need to attack Arjuna. How dare he disrespect us? And Krishna very gently, again, very sensitively balanced it all out. He said, by the way, Subhadra actually kidnapped Arjuna. She was driving his chariot. It's so just relax. And by the way, it's still the same Chandravamsha that our sister has gone to. So don't worry, relax. So in that way, so much anxiety, but at the end it got resolved. Same thing with the last day of the Mahabharat Yudh, Balaramji came. And the night before, Gandhari had given the blessings to Arjuna that his entire body would become like a vajra. So Bhima had taken a vow he would break Duryodhana's thigh that he had disrespected Draupadi with. So now how does Krishna balance all that? It's transcendental anxiety for him. It's joy, it's pleasure, it's anxiety, all of that combined. And at the end, Balaramji was very infuriated. He wanted to attack Bhima, but Krishna actually stopped him. He said, remember, this is the same Duryodhana that had disrespected Draupadi. And Bhima had made a vow to break his thigh. Bhima will not break the thigh of a corpse. He had to kill him in battle. So he did not break any rules of battle. So Krishna again got into so much anxiety. But this beautiful personality of Balaramji, I will wrap it up there. Beautiful personality of Balaramji, whitish in complexion, with Krishna throughout his pastimes, plays a significant role in Krishna Leela and our lives as well. He represents all the gurus and all mercy comes through him. So on this day and almost every day, we can pray to Sri Balaramji. And again, please use this instruction of Srila Prabhupada. When you have a very big problem, to go to Balaramji. He will solve your problem. Sri Balaramji ki Jai. So I will speak a few more minutes on the Jhulan Yatra, which is the second part of our festival today. So there are various festivals that we observe of Radha and Krishna in Vraj, in Vrindavan. We know in the spiritual world every day is a festival. But here we have various festivals according to the seasons. When it's April, when it's starting to get hot, there's Chandan Yatra, where they apply Chandan on Radha and Krishna. There's Dola Yatra in the spring, when there's flowers, there's also a bit of a swing there. There's Kartik Yatra that happens where there's Damodar month. We offer lambs to Lord Damodar. But in the Shravana month, for 5 days, from Ekadashi till Balaram Purnima, there's a beautiful festival called Jhulan Yatra. In Jhulan Yatra, Radha and Krishna are placed on a jhula, a swing, and it's beautifully decorated. In Srila Prabhupada's direct instruction, he said they must be dressed in green and lots of flowers on the swing. And from Pavitropana Ekadashi until Balaram Purnima, this festival is observed 5 days. Other temples will observe it for a full month, some for a few shorter days, but Prabhupada's instruction was 5 days. And it's again Sri Dharmas, where it's monsoon season in India, it's very hot and humid and sticky. And in that swinging action, that provides a cooling to Krishna. And there are many blessings to those who are able to swing Radha and Krishna. So it is a festival that we all observe. And from a Leela perspective, how this actually came about. One day Radharani was swinging alone on a swing, and her Sakhis, the beautiful Sakhis on the altar, they were there facilitating the swinging, and everyone was feeling deep separation from Krishna. And knowing that, they were chanting Krishna's glories, and Krishna was able to understand, Hare Krishna, Radharani is there. So he dressed up as a gopi, came there, and all of these other Sakhis were like, oh, you please come sit next to Radharani. She's in deep anxiety. So they sat Radha and Krishna together. Obviously, Krishna was dressed as a gopi. But being next to Radharani, he fainted in ecstasy. Again, Radharani's bhav is the highest. And they obviously, once he fainted, they realized, oh, this is actually Krishna. And then they put them both together, and they were both very happy, and they were swinging. So this Leela happens in the spiritual world eternally, and we have an opportunity by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada to perform these festivals in our temples, in our homes, again, for all of our benefit. Because that Leela is happening eternally, they're having their pleasure, but they're inviting us into their pastimes. So Jhulan Yatra ki Jai. So I will pause here. I think I have 4 minutes. If there's any other reflections, any Prabhu Mataji that you'd like to share, any question, we can discuss that. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. You said something about Arjuna was the chariot driver. Should is chariot. I don't know.
So I had mentioned in Jagannath Puri, when the chariots come out, so Balaramji has his chariot and Subhadra comes on her chariot. In her chariot, in Jagannath Puri, the chariot driver is actually Arjuna. So they're eternally a couple. And even in Jagannath Puri, he's present as the chariot driver of Subhadra. He's rendering that service to Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. But in this particular pastime, in Mahabharata, when Krishna actually told him, you kidnap Subhadra, she was the chariot driver at that time. I hope that helps.
Yes.
Thank you.
Who are the charioteers for
Exchange of Leelas.
Jagannath and Balaram?
I think Krishna is either Garuda or Daruka. I'm not sure about Balaram. We can research. That's a good point. That's a good. Thank you. Any other questions or reflections?
This is not today's discussion, but
Yes.
you know, universal form Lord is showing in Arjuna's saying in that Krishna is telling along with the Maharathas who all will
Yes.
be died, Jayadratha, because you said that name, I remembered that.
Yes.
He's mentioning along with Bhishma Dev and all.
Yes.
Any reason, particular reason?
So Jayadratha was a prominent warrior, and
But he is not a Maharathi, no?
he's not a Maharathi.
Yeah.
But
Along with them, the name was
The
mentioned.
name was mentioned because he played a significant role in the Mahabharata. So he married Duryodhana's sister. So when the Pandavas were in the forest, Arjuna had gone to the heavenly planets to get the Divyastra. And the day he came back, Jayadratha was going through the forest and he saw Draupadi. And again he was infatuated and he kidnapped Draupadi. Now this time the Pandavas were carrying that infuriation. So Arjuna shot arrows because that chariot had gone far away. Broke his chariot, it was miles away, and Bhima ran like the wind, and they were going to kill Jayadratha. And Draupadi herself said, no, he's our brother-in-law, whatever he's done, forgive him. So although he's not a Maharathi, he played a significant role in the pastime. So they shaved his head off, leaving only 5 shikhas. So that infuriated him, and he did great tapasya to Lord Shiva, that I want to kill the Pandavas. And Lord Shiva said, other than Arjuna, you'll be able to defeat the rest of the 4 Pandavas. That's then how the pastime of Arjuna's, Abhimanyu's Leela happened. And Abhimanyu in the womb had only heard about entering the Chakravyuha, not coming out. So he was alone there, and alone no one was able to defeat him. And no one was able to come in because Jayadratha was given a boon. So he played a very big role in Mahabharata, although he was not a
That's why his name is mentioned
That's why
along
his name
with
is
them.
mentioned. Yes. And another thing, Jayadratha was given a boon that whoever chops his head off, and if the head falls on he will burn. And that his father gave him. And again, Jayadratha was very proud. He goes to his father and said, Bhishma has Ichha Mrityu, where that he can
So
choose when to
Arjuna
die.
had an anxiety of, that's what Krishna is telling by along with them his name also. And they already have killed all of them.
Yes.
You become an instrument.
Instrument.
Yeah.
Nimitta Matra Bhava.
Now I can collect it,
Yes,
connect
yes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mata. Thank you. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for your wonderful lecture. Prabhu, you mentioned about Nityananda Prabhu in Kali Yuga.
Yes.
Could you please tell us about how he is carrying the mood of Balaram?
Very, very nice question, Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu, the glories of Nityananda Prabhu are endless. So again, as a Guru Tattva, his entire mood as Nityananda is how can I deliver these Jivatmas to come to Krishna. So he leaves all his anger, that as Balaram is Lakshman, he's very angry, but he can cool down very quickly as well. But as Nityananda, he puts all of that aside and puts all his energy in how can I promote the Sankirtan movement, how can I serve Lord Chaitanya. We know the Jagai Madhai pastime, where they actually hit, Madha actually hit Lord Nityananda, but he was completely forgiving. So that he carries that pure mood of Balaram of bringing the Jiva, Sankarshan, getting the Jivatmas back to Krishna's lotus feet. And that's one of the foundational moods that Nityananda has in the Leela of Gaura Leela. And all his pastimes are connected in that way. Even when Nityananda was there, he's, I think, 12 years older than Lord Chaitanya. But he didn't start anything of preaching or his Sankirtan until Lord Chaitanya started himself, the Sankirtan movement. So he's still got that dasya bhav in there. So very deeply intricate, and maybe in Nityananda Trayodashi we can dive into that. Thank you so much. Okay, in the interest of time we'll pause here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Balaram Purnima Mahamotsav ki jai. Julan Yatra Mahamotsav ki jai.